episode of the Spurs Rewind. Hopefully, Vicky, this isn't going to be the last episode of the season.
Yes.
Hopefully, we have something to talk about on Friday. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and preview the Spurs and Pelicans play-in game that's going to be occurring today later on. I believe it's tip time is what 8:30 is what they have it scheduled at,
Yes.
and it's going to be
Mhm.
shown nationally on ESPN. So we got the late game, so I'm excited. I've been nervous all day. I don't know how you feel, Vicky.
Um, I've been pretty calm about it. I trust them. I think it's gonna
You
be
you
good.
trust them? You put your stock in the Spurs. Okay.
I do, yes.
I'm kind of feeling good, but I don't want to get my hopes up because anything can happen. It's a playing game. And just like we saw yesterday, you had the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Los Angeles Clippers playing for that seventh spot. And that was an interesting game. You could tell the intensity was up there. A lot of pushing, a lot of
Yes.
shoving, very physical game. And it was anybody's game, even with Carl Anthony Towns getting in foul trouble and not being there for the start of the fourth, you thought, oh no, the Clippers might just go ahead and sneak in a win here. But to my surprise, the Timberwolves actually did us a solid and they defeated the Clippers. So the Clippers are now
Yes.
waiting for the winner of the San Antonio Spurs and Pelicans playing game. Hopefully the Spurs can get the dub and move on. I mean, what were your thoughts? I'm sure you kind of watched the game yesterday as well.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I didn't watch the entire game. I was kind of on and off watching, among other things, but I was rooting for,
The
as much as it pains
Timberwolves.
me to say it, yes, the Timberwolves to win, just because I did not want to have to face them again for whatever
Mm-mm.
reason. The Spurs have had issues with them all year. The Clippers would definitely be the easier of the two for the Spurs if they're able to get past, hopefully, yes, please. If they're able to get past the Pelicans. Um, but yeah, it was pretty crazy. I think that I feel sort of bad for them that they're getting all this backlash for how much they celebrated after,
Mhm.
but I mean, it was you would think, yeah, they had just won the
I was waiting for the confetti to shoot
conference
out
or
from
something.
the ceiling, you
Yes.
know?
Because when we played them, when the Spurs played them the other day, like, a little bit of confetti fell, and when I saw that,
Oh,
I was like,
man.
"No, they wouldn't do that." Like, that's just no. I don't know. I
Well,
don't know. It was something.
small victories, Vicky, small victories, and you know what? If the Spurs win their playing game, we should have some confetti thrown about
Yeah, but
somewhere
not
around in San
them, like,
Antonio.
going around, like, with the whole
Are we gonna
chest
go honking?
thing and
Should we
stuff.
go honking if the Spurs win, go down Commerce?
Maybe, but then, the job's not done. That's always what I think when these
Yeah.
these teams start celebrating so early, and it's like, "Well, what's your drive?" Like, it always reminds me of Kobe Bryant saying it one time, like, in one of the press conferences, and they were like, "Oh, are you happy you got through whatever this round?" I don't know what it was, and he's like, "No, the job isn't done yet." That's the mentality I think they all need to have because, yeah, celebrate the victories and stuff, but it was just, I mean, that's just not it was the play-in. Like,
It's a
I
play-in
mean,
moral victory. It's a moral victory, and that's the thing with the San Antonio Spurs going up against the Pelicans. We're looking at some of the stats here because I shared some of this with you as well. So the Spurs and Pelicans played four times this season. Out of those four
yes.
times, the Spurs have been victorious three of those four times. Spurs in their
Mhm.
first meeting, they won that game, and it was a close game by final score 107 to 103. Second meeting, they got trounced by the Pelicans 124 to 91. And then the Spurs beat the Pelicans. And it's funny, the irony, the final score 124 to 114. Then
Yeah.
in their final meetup here, the Spurs, they winded up beating the
Wait,
Pelicans.
I think that was flipped. That was the first game.
That was the first game. Yep.
Yeah, the 3rd game's when the Spurs got,
Got trounced. Yeah.
destroyed. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they winded up winning the last game that they met against the Pelicans
Yes.
112 to 97. So the magic number here is if you can score in the 107, 112 range, you're good. But 124 all but ultimately seals a victory for you from two of
Yeah.
these games that we've seen. So the magic number is 124, in my opinion. The San Antonio Spurs are going to have their work cut out for them because, of course, both coaches are going to be scheming and kind of changing things up. As of the latest injury reports, the San Antonio Spurs are only going to be without one Doug McDermott. Romeo Langford is now available. He was listed as probable, and as of this morning, the Spurs listed him as available now. So they're going to have a
Okay.
full squad to go, ready to go, and I'm sure that the Pelicans themselves are going to have all hands on deck, you know,
Yeah.
ready to go because this is a very important game. The one thing that I've seen thus far in the play-ins is, kind of a preview from what I saw from the Minnesota Timberwolves in the in the Clippers. I don't know why I was going to say Trailblazers because I'm always thinking every time I think about CJ McCollum and he's playing with the Pelicans,
Yes.
it throws me off and I want to say Blazers. Anyway,
Yes.
the intensity is way up there. So I think this game is going to start off with you have to match the other team's intensity. You have to play
Yeah.
at a very high level. And the other thing is that the Spurs are going to have to play smart, fundamental basketball. That means
Yeah.
not making a lot of turnovers. You're going to have to go and fight for these rebounds. You're going to have to fight for every single thing that you're going to want out there on the court. And
Mhm.
the 50-50 balls, you're going to it's going to be a drag out, street fight this is what this is going to be. I don't foresee a blowout. I think this game is going to be fairly close. I think either team, whoever wins, is probably going to win by a margin of maybe no less than 10 points.
Yeah.
But the San Antonio Spurs have to play smart, and they can't get in foul trouble early. We're going to need our bigs. We're going to need Jakob Portal, out there on
Right.
the floor. He can't get in foul trouble early. So smart basketball, and hopefully they can show us, a culmination of everything that they've learned throughout the season and put that into effect in tonight's matchup against the Pelicans. I mean, Vicky, what are you seeing here as your keys to victory for tonight?
Well, honestly, I wanted to look back at the loss, because obviously the Spurs have been doing something right against the Pelicans this season, but in that one loss, which I actually was at,
Oh man,
I was it was
we were both there.
yes, yeah, we were
Yeah.
both there. Yeah, that game, I wanted to see what it was that happened there. I know Lonnie got hurt. He only played like 5 minutes. I don't think he's really the reason they did so poorly. The best performance that night was from Vassell, who had 18 points. DeJounte had 17, which is, I mean, that's on the lower end of his consistent, game. But Pirtle was he did not have a great game. Pirtle didn't have a good game. I think he scored like 11 points and let's see, seven points, no blocks. Okay, 8 rebounds. That's good. Keldon also had a terrible night. What happened? I have no idea because I remember being at that game thinking, oh, the Spurs got this. No. So as long as they can do whatever it is they did in every other game, and with the way they've been playing lately, even in the, recent losses that they've had, I think they're the better team. I really do. Which is why I'm surprised that only 3 out of 18 of the NBA experts picked the Spurs to win. But yeah, like this one viewer H2 that Hizzle had mentioned, I think also the bench is going to be really important. We need to have depth. But really, as long as DeJounte, Keldon can show up, if both of them show up, I think the Spurs are in a pretty good spot. Vassell has been really consistent lately too. If we can have the two of them, and Jakob playing well, Vassell just does his thing, and then I think the Spurs are the better team.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen too is we're going to have the supporting cast play a big role in tonight's matchup because it's going to come down to the bench play, and not only
Yeah.
that, but it's going to also come down to how well your backup point guard Trey Jones is going to play. How well is Keldon Johnson going to play? Are we going to get anything out of Lonnie Walker? Because the Pelicans know what makes this team go is going to be the playmaking ability of one Dejounte
Yeah.
Murray, and what I mean by that is his ability to get the other facets of his team involved, his teammates involved, kind of dictating the flow of the offense. And if you can kind of cut the head off the snake and make it hard for him to get the ball to his teammates by, going ahead and closing out those passing lanes, double teaming him, triple teaming him, giving him different looks, making it hard for him to make his shots. It's going to be hard for the rest of the team to get going because they're going to start forcing shots. They're going to start playing in to what I think is going to be hero ball, and I don't want to see that
Right.
because much as we've seen that happens with them when they do that in the season, earlier in the season, they get themselves in trouble. So they're going to
Yeah.
have to they're going to have to kind of trust each other. They're going to have to be patient, and you're going to have to shoot with whatever the defense gives you. And that's
Yeah.
just playing smart basketball. Don't do stupid passes. Don't take a three-pointer when there's only like, there's 17 seconds,
Yes.
18 seconds
Oh,
left.
yes.
You got to play smart. You got to move the ball. You got to look for your little seams, your openings there. And Keldon needs to knock down his shots, and they all need to make their free throws. Free throws, I think, are going to be
Yes.
another key factor in tonight's matchup. And that's going to be the thing because we don't know how many times they're going to wind up getting to the stripe. It could be that the Timberwolves get the home calls, from the refs, and that's just a facet of the game you got to play with. But I still want to see something more out of DeJounte. I want to see him rise up to the occasion and put the naysayers to rest because we've seen what's been going on Spurs Twitter this week. I just opened it up, and all of a sudden, I saw a kid wanting to die on his heel by bad mouthing one DeJounte Murray, and I'm like, really? I don't get this crazy fandom here. You should just be happy for your players and the growth of said player. When has it become normal for us to go ahead and just flat out just say, "Oh, this player is no good. DeJounte's no good." He is a great player. His stats show
Right.
you that. You're seeing the growth of this young point guard here. They said he wasn't going to be an all-star. Made it to the all-star game. He's
Yeah.
been averaging triple doubles. I mean, what more do you want out of the kid? And they're like, well, I want him to show up in the big game. This is a big game. So if DeJounte shows up, a lot of the naysayers are going to have to eat crow, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is,
Definitely.
too, Vicky, what if the Spurs don't necessarily have to have a huge game out of DeJounte if the supporting cast starts shooting the ball well,
Yes.
and the thing is, he can get them involved early. So then he can go ahead and maybe the game will open up for him in the later quarters, third and fourth. I mean, what are you
Yes.
thinking here about the supporting cast, and which player do you specifically think is going to play an instrumental role for the Spurs getting that dub tonight?
I think somebody I've been watching and will wanna watch out for now that the Spurs are going back into, set gameplay and strategy for tonight, Trey Jones, because he had that, those breakout games while DeJounte was out, and now we're gonna get to see our sorry for all the haters, but high caliber point guard, DeJounte Murray, one of the best in the league, and then having a backup as great as Trey has been in the last few games. If Trey can step up and play at that same high intensity, I think that the Pelicans won't even know what hit them because they haven't seen that out of Trey. It's peaking at the right time. He's doing everything right, being a perfect backup, really embracing the style of DeJounte, so that, the pace of the game stays the same. I think that's gonna be super key.
I think for me, the key thing here is going to be watching Josh Richardson. I want to see what he can
Mhm.
actually bring to the plate because I think his veteran leadership is going to play an instrumental part if the Spurs are going to go ahead and wind up moving on or not. I think he can hit some key three pointers at pivotal
Mhm.
moments in the game when the game's getting really close or it might be tied because he's not afraid to take those shots. And I like the way he plays with a little dog in him. He goes out there and brings
Yeah,
his
I like that.
attitude, and I want to see that. I want to see that transfer over to the young core. Go out there
Yeah.
and play with the chip on your shoulder. Play with some nasty, Vicky. You know,
Exactly, yeah.
I want to see
I
that
think they're
tonight.
ready. They're
I
ready.
think so. I think so. And you know what? Keldon Johnson, he also said they're
Yes.
playing for 4 games. Keldon Johnson says the Spurs are packing for 2 playing games and 2 playoff games. I love that confidence. You're not packing a day back so you can get on the
Yeah,
plane and come right back home. They're in it for the long haul because they're thinking we're going to win this thing. We're going to go and win on Friday, and we're going to go ahead and play the Phoenix Suns as a
yep,
consolation prize. And I also
that's
wanted to
right.
point out something here with DeJounte and the haters that have come out of the woodwork, hating on DeJounte. DeJounte Murray joined Michael Jordan, the 88-89 Michael Jordan, as the only player in NBA history to average 20 plus points per game, 8 plus rebounds per game, 8 plus assists per game, and 2 plus shots per game in a season.
Steals, yeah,
I'm sorry, steals per game in a season. So
yeah,
he's in good company there. You know, I
yeah.
mean, he is in really good company with, they're comparing him to the
Yeah.
stats of one Michael Jordan from the 88-89 season. So that says a lot about DeJounte. And then our good friend, Josh Paredes, I saw one of his tweets out there and I thought this was pretty cool too. Let me know what you think of this stat, Vicky. The Spurs 3-point percentage leaders for the 2021-22 season per Josh Paredes, and you can go and follow our good friend Josh at Josh810. He puts out there the Spurs 3-point percentage leaders for 2021-22 season are Josh Richardson, who's leading the team with 44.4% through 21 games. Doug
Wow.
McDermott, 42.2% through 51 games. Keldon Johnson with 39.8% in 75 games, and Devin Vassell with 36.1% through 71 games. That's not a bad percentage there.
Well, that's good.
That's pretty
That's
darn
a huge
good.
improvement one season to the next. If you look at last season and then this season, um, that was one of the areas everyone was talking about the Spurs needed to improve, and I think they've proved that they've grown there. And also to talk a little bit about that stat line from DeJounte, I know a bunch of people, saw a bunch of comments like, "Oh, those stats are so specific, and I hate when they do that," and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, do you like if you really read it and realize the high level of every stat you could possibly get, he's up
Yeah.
there getting the top, of among all these guys who get the recognition. DeJounte is arguably the best actual point guard in the league right now, and he is underrated. Um, and yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to fight me on that, okay. Like he is, if you actually look at
Vicky
his
says, fight me.
contributions.
Fight me,
Well,
bro.
because there are no true point guards. I mean, there's not a truer point guard in the league than DeJounte. It's just a fact. He's the best point guard in the league that's actually playing like a point guard.
Yeah. And just from looking at the stats from the last matchup that the Pelicans and Spurs had, where the Spurs won 107 to 103, field goal shooting percentage from the floor was almost pretty even. Spurs shot 42.4, Pelicans shot 44.4%. 3-point shooting, Spurs weren't that great. It was 7 of 26, 26.9% from beyond the arc. The Pelicans 10 of 32, 31.3% on the night. Free throws. Now we're getting into it here. Spurs shot quite well from the stripe. 22 of 25, good enough for 88% from the stripe. Pelicans 13 of 19, 68.4%. So again, you're looking at the free throws. I think you're going to play another instrumental part.
Mhm.
Total offensive rebounds. Spurs had 16, the Pelicans had 12. Total rebounds, Spurs had 49, Pelicans 42. The assist, pretty dead even there too. 22 to the Spurs compared to 23 to the Pelicans. Blocks,
Mm.
this is where the Pelicans kind of excelled here. They had 11 blocks on the night. Spurs only had 6. Steals,
Oh.
dead even at 4. Turnovers, Spurs had 10, Pelicans had 8. Points in the paint, almost dead even, 54 to 52. And personal fouls, San Antonio had 17, Pelicans had 19. So this is showing you that both teams are pretty
They're
evenly matched.
pretty, yeah.
The only thing that really separated this game was some pivotal moments down the stretch where the Spurs made some smart plays and were able to capitalize on that by knocking down their free throws. Again,
Mhm.
the free throw I think is going to wind up coming back to either haunt you or it can be your best friend. So we're
It's
going to
true.
see how well the Spurs will be able to close out the game in the waning minutes. And that's a thing I think that the Spurs have had some issues with throughout the season is
Mhm.
squandering some double digit leads. You hope that this young squad has learned from their mistakes and they're able to right the ship. What does your gut tell you, Vicky? Do you think that the Spurs will be able to sustain a lead if they have one going into the fourth quarter?
I do think so. I think they have learned, and, you know, they've been riding a high. I guess you could say they went through a slump at the end of the season, but I don't think it really counts once they lost that game to the Timberwolves. Yeah, when they lost against the Timberwolves, after that, they weren't trying anymore. I mean, they were trying, they were out there playing, but there was no strategy, there wasn't game plan. Um, of course not, because, they were prepping for this and they don't wanna show, what they're planning. I think that they've all been waiting for this, since last year. The ones who came back from last year, they wanna prove themselves, and they're ready to do it. I think they're confident because they have the series, uh, they have the win over, the Pelicans in the series, and I think that it's just really about execution and just keeping their head in the game and focused, keeping their head on task because that's really the only way that I think that they would be strayed. I think they've got everything they need to win.
Yeah, they just I think another thing too is take care of that ball. You don't want to start turning the ball over and then it goes the other way for easy points, where the Pelicans will be able to capitalize off of those turnovers. They're just
And
basically
yep,
giving up points.
yep, and I think that all comes down to focus and determination. I love that quote from Keldon because it shows that they're focused on getting there. They wanna be in the playoffs. They can taste it. They're so close, and they've beat better teams. They've blown better teams out of the water. So, they can do this, and they know they can do it. They have a full roster. They're ready.
Yeah. Well, we're about to find out, but we're going to read something here from our good friend Ty Yeager as well from At the Line podcast. He puts Keldon Johnson's 3-point shooting for the 2021-22 season. Keldon Johnson tied Patty Mills from the 2018-2019 campaign with 159 three-pointers. It's tied for ninth all-time in Spurs history. Keldon finishes the season at 40%, capitalizing on 159 out of 399 from behind the arc on 5.3 attempts a game. So not bad at all from Keldon. And
It's
then the
great.
thing is, going in to this playing game, Keldon Johnson ended the regular season on a 9-game streak of 20-plus point game
Mhm,
performances. He averaged what he averaged during that streak of 9 games, putting up 20-plus points, 22.7 points per game, 6.1 rebounds a game, and 3.2 assists per game.
mhm,
Not bad numbers at all. So you would think that the Spurs are playing at a high level and they have that confidence. It's just going to be the
mhm,
execution down the stretch that's really going to dictate whether they move on and they play the Clippers on Friday, or they just poorly execute it and come back home and we live to fight another day, and look forward to the NBA draft. But I like the fact that I've seen a lot of growth out of Keldon, and I've also seen a lot of growth out of Dejounte Murray this season. I didn't think that Dejounte would have the season that he's done. Um, that he's had so far. So some surprises there. I was going to ask you
mhm.
too, what player has stood out in your mind this season that you think really took a big leap in your eyes?
Other than DeJounte?
Other than
Because I think
DeJounte.
yeah, because DeJounte was definitely, that player for me this year. Other than him, I think it's been sort of consistent, like a tie between well, okay, DeJounte and Jakob have made big jumps, both of
Okay.
them, but I think that was somewhat expected. For Keldon, at first I expected a little more. I think as the season went on, he's really started to develop. Vassell is the one who from the start, I think just started to look like there was something else, something additionally there. Um, I forget that he's just in his second year. Like he definitely looks more mature than he is. So I think probably Vassell would be my biggest surprise. But like I said, I mean, I listed three other guys who made big leaps. Like
Yeah.
DeJounte, we thought, he was great last year. He did his thing. But what he's done this year has just been amazing. He just became a whole
Yeah.
new player and the leader of this team. So I think, yeah, many of the guys have hit that point in their career where they've kind of come into their own and it's all happening at the same time, which is surprising. But it's also really cool because who else is going to start developing and how much better will Vassell be next year and Keldon and Primo, who's already great. I mean, the Spurs have a lot of potential on their roster. And it's very cool because whether or not they make it into the playoffs, um, I think everyone should be really excited. Everyone who's a Spurs fan, because there's definitely a lot to be excited about.
Yeah. The team is trending in the right direction. You're seeing the growth of the young core. While there is some growing pains this season, who would have thought that they would have been here in the play-in game and ousting the Lakers as well? So that was kind of a insult to injury there from all the flack that we took from Lakers fans earlier in the season because they were so proud of themselves that they beat the Spurs here at the AT&T Center. But yeah, now they're eating
Ugh.
crow, sitting at home,
Yeah.
not even watching their team make the play-in. So you have that. But as we start winding things down and bringing things to a close, let's go ahead and congratulate two former San Antonio Spurs players here, and Tony Parker and Paul Gasol, on being selected to the all-time NBA European first team. Congratulations to both of these players. And, it couldn't happen to better guys. I mean, Paul Gasol was a great teammate, when he played here with the San Antonio Spurs. And Tony Parker, I mean, he's a legend in his own right, one of the better point guards that ever came out of the San Antonio. And also, multiple time NBA champion, Tony Parker. So
Yep.
kudos to both of them. So before we start bringing this to a close, like I said, because all things must come to an end, Vicky, what has been your favorite moment this season that's really stood out to you beyond the you coming out on the kiss cam, which was a great moment in itself?
That was
And it was a
awesome.
win by that. Yeah, by that as
Yeah.
well. But what was your favorite moment this season?
Oh gosh, there've been a lot. There really have been a lot of great moments. I think, um, DeJounte making the getting that all-star pick, um, I think that was a huge thing for the Spurs. I think it was really awesome for me and other Spurs fans also to see, a Spur was an all-star again. That was really, really exciting. And then honestly, just the way they've been playing these last on I guess it's like the last month or a little over a month, they've just really flipped a switch, and it's encouraging as a Spurs fan. It doesn't seem so bleak anymore. It feels like all the pieces are starting to fall into place, and yeah, I've been enjoying the ride. I knew going into it, Joe, like you said, that it probably was gonna be a painful season, gonna be lots of losses and stuff. But I mean, the fact that they've made the play-in, that's a win to me. They deserve it. They're young. They've struggled. They went through a lot of changes, and they're finally in the going in the right direction, and I think that they deserve credit for that too.
Yeah, plus we also got those three picks to look forward to in the upcoming NBA draft. We don't know where the lotto balls might fall in our favor, but nonetheless, there's still things to be excited about if you're a Spurs fan. Yes, you're wanting to move up in the NBA draft. I get that, but you got three picks that could actually happen for you if you can find a team that's willing to go ahead and take these picks and maybe swap, maybe a top three or top four pick with you if you feel that there's somebody there that you got to have. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that can happen, but this is a moral victory. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to savor it, regardless of what happens. But I think my favorite moment of the season was going to be Coach Pop getting win 1,336
That's
uh,
true.
to pass Nelly, and it was a game that you thought the Spurs did not have a chance at winning because it didn't look like they were going to win in the fourth quarter. And lo and behold, they made a run, they turned things around, and they got Coach Pop the win. And it was just a special moment. Everybody was so
Yeah.
excited, so happy. Coach Pop did not want to celebrate until they finally pushed him around and made him crack a smile, and then he was
Aw.
happy, and that was a big moment there. That's history in the making.
Yeah.
So, to me, that was one of the things that really was a big moment for me, that I
Yeah.
enjoyed and savored. But another thing we got to think about too is we're going to go ahead and close the show out is Becky Hammond. I mean, if this is going to be the last
That's true.
game tonight,
Ah.
this is going to be the last time we're going to see one Becky Hammond out on the floor coaching the San Antonio Spurs. But good luck to her with the Aces as she moves on to the WNBA after this season. And I'm going to be watching them closely and rooting for that team because they used to be the stars that
Yeah.
now they're the Aces. So good on Becky. I'm glad
Yeah.
she got an opportunity, but it's kind of bittersweet. Going to be sad to see her go.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed about that, but like I said, I'm not counting her out for a future Spurs coaching position. I think things may align and wind up that, she ends up back on the Spurs staff
maybe.
somehow.
But the Twitter handle is available. Becky Hammond. I'm telling you.
Yep, yep, that's right.
I'm gonna make you one. I'm just gonna make it for you. It's gonna be your
My burner.
burner account.
Do it, do it.
So as we bring the show to a close here,
Oh,
make sure that you go and follow the Vicky Vix at on Twitter at the Vicky Vix. So you can go ahead and follow her and look at all the great stuff she's got coming out. And she is a big gal that's into F1, and that just started up
yeah.
here recently too. So they have a new documentaries that I got to check out in that in regards to
Yeah,
the
you
F1
gotta
as
go
well.
check that out.
Yep. So I'm definitely going to do that. And I saw our good friend Ty stop by the track in Austin to go and check out some of the F1 races as well.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you'll have you maybe you and your husband will go out there dressed as in your little your matching outfits again. That was kind of
I'm
cute.
going. Yep, we're going for sure again this fall.
There you go. You got to take pictures.
Yeah. Yes, I will.
And you can also follow me on Two Shots Podcast, all spelled out TWO, Two Shots Podcast. And I'll talk with you on anything going on in the world of sports. And just to give you a tease, next year for the Spurs Rewind, we're going to have some big changes coming through. And we have a lot of cool things that are going to be coming through the pipe. So make sure you take a look at all the great stuff that we got cooking for you guys over at Project Spurs. And make sure you go check out all the great Spurs content from all of our staff over at projectspurs.com. So for the Vicky Vix, I'm Joe Garcia. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Spurs Rewind. And like we always say, spread the love, stop the hate, be kind. We're